a look at selection statements in Python. So a selection statement is like an if-else statement. In Python, well, in all of the programming languages, there's usually some kind of test condition. That condition, if it's true, some bit of code executes, or if it's false, some other bit of code executes. Which brings us to those Boolean variables. Boolean data types have a value of either true or false. So these test conditions usually use comparison operators so that they can give a value of either true or false. So let's say we have is 5 greater than 4. Well, in your head, you should know the answer to that. That's true, but Python also knows that to be true. To look at this a little closer, let's say we're going to store the value of what happens when we say is 5 greater than 4 into a variable called x. Now, if we print x, it of course is going to print true. But if we print the type of x, which gives us what data type it is, it tells us it's a Boolean data type. Okay? So we use these conditions, usually with less than, greater than, equal to help us test for certain conditions or to see if certain conditions have been met. Review those comparison operators on page 77. You should probably remember those. So like 7 double equals 7, that's going to be true. But if we did 7 not equal 7, that would be false. If we did 7 greater than or equal to 6, that would be true. We could do 6 less than or equal to 5, and that would be false. So these comparison operators should be very familiar to you, but again, give them a quick review if they're not. Okay, let's take a look at if statements. I'm going to open up our script window for this. So File, New File, and then let's go ahead and save that as score. And you save it in your Google Drive folder. I'm going to save it on my desktop. Score.py. Okay, so with if statements, we can have just an if statement, we can have an if-else statement, or we can have an if-else statement. So let's start with if statements. To practice with this, let's say we're going to ask the user to enter their score. So we're going to convert it to an int, ask the user for some input, enter your score. Okay, so if their score is high enough to be an A, we're going to say you made an A. But if not, we're just not going to say anything at all. So if statements in Python start with the keyword if, and just like JavaScript, then you have a test condition. But your test condition is not in a set of parentheses. It's just there. So we're going to say if score, and we said we wanted to say something if they made an A. So if score is, how about greater than or equal to 90? Okay. Then you use a colon, and your next line must be indented. Okay, remember, semicolons not as important. I'm not semicolons, curly brackets are not important in Python. Your spacing is important. So if that's true, we're going to print you made an A. Okay, so let's test this and see if it works. Let's save again, F5 to run in the browser, enter your score, let's say a 90. Oh, we made it A. Let's run it again, and this time let's say we made an 80, and it does nothing, which is exactly what we told it to do. Okay, so keyword if, test condition, usually with some kind of comparison operator, colons, and then indent all the lines of code to execute if that condition is true. Now let's say if it is true, if you made an A, it says you made an A, but otherwise it's going to say you did not make an A. we can use an else statement for that. So you just use the keyword else below your if statement, and then whatever code you want to have execute if your test condition is false. So let's say you did not make an A. Now, let's save this code, F5 to run, and let's say we made a 95. Oh, you made an A. But if we F5 to run again, and we made it 85 this time, you did not make an A. Okay, all this should be pretty familiar to you with the selection statements. But let's think of what would happen if we wanted to do all of the scores. So if you had an A, a B, a C, or a D. So let's look at that closer. In that case, you would have an elif statement, okay? So in the case that it was greater than or equal to 90, you made an A. And then we can use the keyword elif, and then we need another test condition. So elif score greater than or equal to 80, print you made a B. And then we can do elif score greater than or equal to 70, print you made a C, and then we'll just leave it there, and then we'll just say you did not make an A, B, or C. Okay, so you can see how that kind of works. So notice with an elif statement, you have to have other test conditions. So if this condition is false, then it checks this test condition. If that test condition is true, it prints this line. But if this test condition is false, it checks this test condition. If this test condition is true, it prints this line. But if this test condition is false, it moves to the else statement and then prints that. Okay? So with if or elif, you have to have another test condition. Else, you do not have another test condition because it's just what happens otherwise. Okay? Let's save and let's F5. And this time let's do an 85. You made a B. We can try again with a different input. Let's try 75. You made a C. Let's try it with a different input. And let's say a 50. You did not make an A, B, or C.